Hey, are you in a slump? Is reading currently a chore, difficult, uninspiring? I'm assuming you already tried giving it time and not pushing yourself and going watching some good shows to consume stories in different formats. But if all failed and you just want a book that is possibly a good one in the attempt to get rid of the said reading slump, I thought I would make a video with my suggestions, and then I thought, what would be the best criteria to judge these by? Then I remember, obviously I have the CAWPILE spreadsheet. I have all of this data at the end of my fingertips. Which ones were the most intriguing? Because I think intrigue is the key. I set this level for this video, which is 9.5 or a 10. So the very highest intrigue for these books. And so I've started tracking with the spreadsheets in 2020. So we have data from 2020 to current time. And in total, only 15 books were qualified. I've included all of them. I will mention some might not be the best for getting out of slump, but I wanted to mention them all just because I think it's interesting. If you have a personal favorite book to recommend for people to get out of the reading slump, please let us know in the comments, because I want the comments to also be a resource for people to go in and check what book you recommend and why it helped you, or you think it's like unputdownable or short or very intriguing or very atmospheric, whatever works for you. I would love for the comment section to also be a little resource for everyone. But lastly, thank you for watching. I know, again, sporadic upload schedule, still very much battling whatever this is. I'm not gonna get into it. I feel like I've updated people on multiple places. So let's just go, let's get to the books. So the first one is actually a trilogy, because it just so happens that all three books in this trilogy got 9.5 or 10 in intrigue, and that is something. I obviously did not know that until I checked it, but it makes total sense. I don't even know if they were all 5 stars, but they were definitely all very intriguing. The first one I even read throughout the night. The series in question is Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It is a contemporary murder mystery crime solving YA series. It was so refreshing to me. It was very interesting, obviously super intriguing. We follow our main character who picks up a dead case from her hometown and starts digging, and obviously breaks every ethical rule and somehow does a better job than the adults. Obviously we gotta suspend our beliefs a little bit, but it was just so I personally love the conclusion. I think there are very polarizing opinions on whether they liked where it led or not. I personally really did. The whole trilogy was something that I couldn't stop reading. Would highly recommend if you are in the mood for that type of read and also want to pick up something that is one, easy, two, quick, even though you know, the books are not necessarily the shortest, but there's a lot of like dialogue and there's also different formats in some places. So if you're a fan of that, which I am, I would highly recommend. There's even like photos. I don't actually want to show you because that's like in the middle of the book, so it might be revealing, but there's interviews, there's podcasts in later books, photos of the reports. It's just fun. It's just a lot of fun. I do think I started this in 2020. I finished it last year, so I definitely took my time, and I'm just I'm excited for the new book by the author. The next one actually surprised me. I don't think this ended up being a 5-star, but apparently when I read it, I was extremely intrigued. I do think I've flown through it, and it was extremely, again, like easy to read, and intrigue carried from the very beginning till the very end. I think that's definitely what helped. And that is Flatshare. It is a contemporary romance about a girl that suddenly needs to move out of her place and has to flat share with someone who works night shifts and she works day shifts, and so they never really meet, and they start talking via post-it notes, I believe. And the guy does work palliative care, and I do want to mention that just in case this is a topic that you don't currently want to read about. Obviously for any of the books mentioned, please take due care and check out content warnings online. They do a much better job than me listing every single one, especially if there's something specific you're looking for. But apparently I thought this was extremely intriguing, and I still do think that it was a very good book. It was just kind of surprising to see it in like the top 15, I guess. Well, 15 is literally all of them, but it was a bit surprising for me. The next one I absolutely stand by. I do, however, think it will not necessarily be as intriguing for everyone. It just ticked every single box that I like. And it's called The Humans. It is about an alien that gets put into a human body to do something to humankind. I don't want to say to do, on a mission. They are on a mission. But whilst they are on a mission, they are experiencing and also commenting on the ways people are, the way people are built, the ways people act and behave. And I loved it. I loved every single moment of this. It was sad, it was hilarious, it was heartwarming, it was frustrating at times, and it just kept me reading. But it was one of those that it definitely is extremely slow. There's no fast-paced plot at all, so that's why I say it's not necessarily for everyone. But if you do think that type of setup is something that you would enjoy, the intrigue was a 10 for me on this one, and I do think it held my attention throughout, even though it is obviously a slow-paced book. I took my time with it, and it was the best. For that reason, I do think it would be a brilliant way to get out of a slump, especially if you are in no rush. Like, it's not necessarily a very fast read, but it's so good that it will either take you out of the slump, I feel, if you like similar things to what I just mentioned, or it will put you in a new one where the book is so good, then you just like sat there thinking and be like, now what? So possibly terrible advice, who knows? Similarly, the next one, it will get you crying, it will get your heart broken, but in the most sweetest, bestest, I do word good. Not only is it so heart-wrenching and beautiful and stunning and creative, but so I literally am like, I will tear up if I keep talking about it. It still gets me. Think it fits this category of getting you out of the slump, mostly for just the actual size of it. You will read this in a sitting, and sometimes that's just what you need. Sometimes you just want to get that feeling of reading something that's also good, but it's fast, and you go through it and you have a full experience in one sitting, and then you remember, oh yeah, I actually can finish books, and that is how it feels like, and you get a little dopamine hit for that. But and every morning the way home gets longer and longer, and you will cry. It is a generational story, a very, very quick one. This is tiny, but it's even smaller than you think, because like a third of the pages is just illustrations. So it's a very quick one, but obviously take your time with it because it's so beautiful. Okay, generational story of trying your best to hold on to memories. Let's leave it at that. One of the best little books I've ever read. The next one makes me feel like a toddler that does not have object permanence yet. It's one that I've read and I really enjoyed, clearly. I do think it was like 4 stars, but intrigue-wise, it really hooked me up and loved my time with it. But because I don't have it physically, I keep forgetting to continue with the series, which is on me. And this is a good video for me to remember to do that. Hey mama, come here. Traitor's Blade. It's a story about a disgraced greatcoats. Used to be very kind of prestigious guards. I want to say it's been a while now, but because they listened to a king's command to stand by, they are now marked cowards, and they're acting as mercenaries and getting themselves in all sorts of trouble. And I loved the first one, so I really need to continue, and clearly it marked up really high in intrigue. So if you are after an adult high fantasy that is easy to get into, doesn't feel too wordy, it doesn't feel too intimidating, I would say, this is a good one. If you're looking at this recommendation list and you're like, okay, well, there's a lot of contemporary happening, or, well, there's a sci-fi, but so far there's a lot of contemporaries happening, and I'm really into fantasy, I don't really read much outside of that, greatcoats, I think, would be a good way to go. I am noticing that majority of the books are outside of fantasy. There are a couple of sci-fis, but overall, there's more contemporary mystery action happening here than in any other list that I probably made, unless it was focused on those genres. And that probably just speaks to it, because intrigue is something that is normally high in these genres, so it makes sense. But I'm happy that there is some variety, so hopefully there's a suggestion regardless of what you prefer. If you want to go for something more visual, I do have a graphic novel, which you have definitely heard me talk about, so sorry, but also not sorry. Daytripper, amazing, beautiful. It was actually funny seeing intrigue be high, because it's definitely not a quality that I would necessarily remember this by, but it's a beautiful story. I just always struggle to convey it properly, but it's about life and how it is and how it could be, and there's a lot of stories, and man, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. The artwork is not the one that I normally would maybe gravitate, but the story is just so worth it, and clearly marked high on the intrigue, but again, it gives you so much more than that. Next, an absolutely remarkable thing, was so easy to listen to. It is technically a contemporary with like sci-fi elements. It is classed as a sci-fi, but it is very much urban, so you don't need to relearn a new world. It's a YA book, and it's written really accessibly. One that I kept wanting to pick up because it was so easy and fun to listen to, and I was also really intrigued as to what's gonna happen next, because we are following a set of characters who notice these statues and are first ones to upload stuff about them online and get famous, and now they are almost assigned to go and investigate what those statues are, and they're doing weird things. They popped up all over the place, and you don't know their origin, you don't know if this is an art project or if this is some sort of alien situation, and so the intrigue is constant, but you also obviously get a lot of characters talking, character relationship in between of that, so it was just a very well balanced, to me, story that definitely peaked in intrigue. Absolutely same. I don't think this was 5 stars, and literally the strongest bit about this was the intrigue. I read this and then continued to reading it online because it's a web comic, and I was hooked. It was just, you know, pretty colors. I'm gonna say it, but please don't hate me. I think like mediocre story. I'm sorry. I didn't even love every single aspect of it, but I was so hooked. I was so addicted to it, and it was brilliant for one of my very high pain days where I just couldn't do anything else, but I really needed a distraction, and it was a lifesaver. So Olympus will always be that in my brain. I do need to continue with it. I probably will just save it for another day like that, but once you get going, it's really hard to stop. It's like crack. Another short one, probably even shorter than this, is a story called Summer Frost. It's a short, I don't even think it's a novella, it's literally a short story that's available through Kindle Unlimited, and it's about a game that starts talking back. I'm not gonna say anything else because it's literally like 50 pages, so I feel like if you want a short story and it's a little bit more speculative and sci-fi, that is the one to go for, I think. As I said, I'm gonna include everything that was on my list, but this one I don't think I would necessarily recommend unless you are in a specific similar situation that I am, where you grew up with these comics and then you haven't read them in literally decades, and suddenly you find that you can get those again. And then I literally flew through this because it was so nostalgic, but I don't think it's too applicable for everyone. I just wanted to mention that this was also very high in intrigue, but I'm gonna move on swiftly because I just don't think it's very applicable. If you're more into biographies, one of the ones that I really just couldn't put down, and I remember I had this on an audiobook. We listened to this while we were in the car, and I kept finding excuses why we should go somewhere so that I could continue listening to this book. That's how much I was intrigued by it, even though, again, it's a real life account, so it's not, you know, twists and turns, and I don't know this person. It's not like I was following them, was like a mega fan or anything like that. I did not know a single thing about this person, but the way they accounted this book, or the way they wrote this book, was really just so... I was so enamored. I wanted to know what's gonna happen next, and I just wanted to listen to her voice. I really enjoyed the narration, so I would also recommend an audiobook, but I'm glad my mom died. There is a lot of content warnings to probably check out for this one, but it's her account about the relationship with her mother and early fame and Hollywood standards of beauty and women, and recovering from things that are traumatic in your childhood, and a lot of commentary on relationships, and it was just really interesting. And then the very last one is your thriller. which obviously are designed to keep you intrigued, and this one really did. I did struggle at just a tiny bit at the very beginning, I think, but then it just shot up so much. I, again, forced myself to find time to continue reading because I just really was desperate to know what is happening. And it's called The Last House on Needless Street. It's somewhat following a missing child case. We have multiple POVs that start off from this quite like secluded man, and also a cat, and another woman, and it's all quite like suspenseful and weird, and it really keeps you guessing, and I really enjoyed myself trying to guess this. I did get it eventually, which was very satisfying to be validated later, I guess, but I just remember not being able to put this down, and obviously it reflected in the rating. But yeah, that is actually everything. I hope that you found a recommendation that could suit you. I hope something piqued your interest. Let me know if so. I think the next video you're gonna see me is going to be a magical readathon announcement. I'm very excited for that. I hope you are excited as well. Thank you so very much for watching. Stay awesome, stay kind, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!